Hey everybody, Wendy Clinky here with Blue Cat Studio. All right, we're gonna do the Joyful Snowman design today. And I have misplaced my gray, but I don't think that's a big deal because we can always mix our own. So you're gonna get some black and some white on your palette. And we're gonna first get a bunch of white on that, move it over here, and then grab some gray or some black. Just kind of mix it in to create a nice gray. For that, I'm gonna go ahead and basically just give this whole thing a coat. Now, if you've pre-traced your design and you kind of go right over your writing, it's really not a big deal. You've still got tracers where you can come back in after it's dried to kind of get that in. So let's go ahead and just get that good. And we're using a big fluffy chip brush here. The chip brush, it just helps for quick, easy, simple coverage. And it's really nice when you're working in big, well, when you're working big. Not in big, but just plain old big. All right, let's keep going here. Get the coverage in here. Now you can go over your snowman a bit too, depends on how confident you are in terms of trying to draw him out. But even so, you can really do just find round circular things to trace him back. Oh, I just got into the black. That's what that is. Huh, let me fix that. And even if your gray is not exactly consistent in terms of color, you have kind of a mix of grays going on in the background, that's all right. Just getting that coverage. Because it's supposed to be, you know, have that look of a stormy day. Just check in, see if there's any streaky spots that need to be just kind of tuned, prettied up. All right, I'll say that looks pretty good in terms of coverage. It's nice and gray. I might add a little bit more down here. Again, just dragging a little bit of the black, getting the white in there. And if it's a little bit lighter, that's fine too. And we know we've kind of got a horizon line like right here. So in fact, if it is lighter, that's great. It's going to help you kind of differentiate and remember where it is. Now, this is a base coat. We're going to be doing further coats on top of this. So never fear. Sometimes art starts off looking a little bit rough. We can bring it back around. So while you're here with that lighter gray tone, let's go ahead and just kind of get the circles for Mr. Snowman kind of done here. All right, that was pretty rough, right? Now we're roughing it in. We're getting the basics done here. It's a little funky on the edges. So now's an opportunity. You can actually set aside your chip brush. If you have a surface to just kind of offload that extra paint on, please do so. And then you can plop it in your rinse water. So this guy's a bit full. Oh, here we go. Got the perfect jar for this. Okay. Just let him kind of soak. And I will, of course, take that out and take better care of him a little bit later. So now that I'm here, I'm going to come back in with some of that gray. I'm going to pretty him up a little bit. Just pretty him up a little bit. Smoothing the edges. Smoothing the edges. There we go. Smoothing the edges. And this is one of those fun projects that, you know, you can use the tracer or you can just freehand it. Either way will net you probably pretty good results. And as I brush a little bit, I'm noticing some of the gray from underneath shows through. That is perfectly fine. In fact, while we're here, we're going to grab a pewter. Now, if you have like a black onyx or any kind of other metallic, this is a blue-gray metallic color. It's really beautiful. I love it. I think it's just so nice. So we can take that kind of metallic-y gray. Can you guys see that okay? Yeah. So a little bit of that. Notice I didn't even bother rinsing my brush. I'm just going to kind of bring some of that in kind of around the edges of our buddy the snowman here. He needs a name, doesn't he? Yeah. So kind of coming in. It's a little weird when you've got kind of the cracks in the lines of the sled, but it still works. So coming around, a little bit of shadow right here under where the hat is going to fall. Again, just keep it loose. Let it get a little blendy. There we go. And you can even get, you know, a bit dark with that because we will come back over the snowman again. As a reminder, if you're like, whoa, slow down, girlfriend, that's what the pause button is for. You're welcome to kind of pause and catch up. And if you're like, speed it up, you know, you can adjust the settings or press the forward button to kind of zip through. I don't know about you, but I always need to know that I can adjust the speed on my videos. Okay. So offloading the paint, I really just brushed all the paint off. And now I can take some white. Actually, you know what we should do? Well, no, we can do the white now. It's looking pretty good. So I'm going to take my angle brush. You can also just do a medium flat brush. The big flat brush is just a little bit large for this. I think I'm going to be happier, and we'll all be happier with that guy. So where am I driest? I'm pretty dry over here. So we'll start here. We'll go right on the border, and we'll kind of drag some white up, and then maybe come back down with the flat of the brush. Maybe a little bit like right here, we'll do a tree, and you know, he's got a hat there. We'll worry about that hat in a minute. He's got a scarf. We'll worry about that scarf in a minute. And again, you can make kind of some long skinny trees, some fat trees. You can do all the trees. Kind of make them work for you. There's no kind of wrong way to do this. We're just here having fun. And if some of your edges are a little bit rough, that's what I'm trying to say, rough, it's not a big deal. And if you can see some of the gray through, also not a big deal. In fact, it's probably a pretty cool effect. So I would just go with it. Because again, when was the last time you saw a perfectly white birch tree? Yeah, that's what I thought. All right, and coming down, maybe drag another one here. Bring it right to the snowy surface. I do want to clean that up a little bit. But again, if it's a little bit swirly, a little bit swooshy, not exactly straight, well, that's kind of how trees grow. So you're doing it right. And then we'll maybe get another one here. Try to bring it back up. So just kind of noticing where I've maybe missed a little. See how it kind of just, it's very fluid. It kind of, I don't know, this feels good if you ask me. It's like smooth, and you're just kind of doing the thing. Now, I just got some splatters here. I don't know if you can see the splatters. Yeah, you probably can't. Don't even stress. We're going to be putting all kinds of snow and whatnot on this, so it does not matter. Let's get a final tree here, and I might make this guy a smidgy bit thicker than the other ones. Let's do that. Burp, 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 burp. I'm so excited that you decided to paint this with me. These sleds are so much fun. I feel like I just want to keep painting sleds and keep painting sleds and keep painting sleds. All right, there we go. So now we've got our trees. Just the basic white is kind of plopped in there. It's ready to go. Yeah. And then I think since we're here and this has dried a little bit, I'm going to add a little bit of the white kind of in a circle here, just kind of allowing our snowman to pop a bit. And again, great if it's a little streaky, if it gets a little dry around the edges there. But we like the gray undertones. They just help. And so I'm trying to preserve some of that pewter along the outsides. Now, if you like yours more blended, by all means, make it more blended. You can kind of work it in. Yeah, see? Or you can keep it a little bit like bolder. It's going to be up to you. But we always get this kind of a multi-layer coloring so that the snowman just has that little bit more realistic, even though this is a little bit cartoony anyways, but it gives him dimension, gives him depth. Keeps him from looking like I don't know, like a kindergartner painting. A little bit of depth is all right. So I've gotten paint everywhere. So just wiping some of it off. In fact, I'm going to use my paper towel to wipe some of that off. And even give him a quick rinse. So I like to get as much of the paint off the brush as possible before I rinse, just because it's a little bit easier on my rinse water, just lower maintenance in general, because we like everything to be as easy as possible. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and grab some green, and actually, let's do a black hat. I think a black hat will be super cute. We're going to do a black hat, keeping it simple. So you can use the same brush If you need to move down to a smaller brush or a round brush, you know, anything's going to work. It's what you're comfortable with. So I'll tell you, like, the more often that you paint, the more comfortable you are with really big brushes. But if you're still working on your brush dexterity, then you may find that you prefer a smaller brush because it allows you to maintain better control. So I'm just taking this guy, kind of using him to create the outlines there and kind of blacken the rim of the hat. I trace this guy a little bit cockeyed. Ideally, you trace the snowman this way, just a smidge, but that's okay. And then the hat, it's kind of like an upside down triangle or an upside down crooked rectangle. I'm sure there's another name for that. Where are my first grade moms? You're gonna know the name of that shape. I'm forgetting it. And now you see why I like the larger black brush, because I can just fill it in pretty fast. And if you just need to use multiple brushes, go for it. Take your time. Don't rush. Just because I'm going fast does not mean that you need to go fast. Again, is what the pause button is for. All right, there we go. Okay, now grabbing just a touch more of that gray. Since I'm here, I'm going to add a little kind of streaky highlight to his hat. And then maybe a little extra of that gray along the rim or the top of the lid. All right, so can you, whoop, I put the stuff in the way you can't see it. Duh. So if I lift it, I think you can see that kind of, it's fairly subtle. The paint's still wet, so you're getting a lot of reflection. So just grabbing more. And you notice I'm not really rinsing the lid. I'm not really rinsing, just kind of getting that line in there. Maybe a little bit more right through here. Boop. A little kiss over here too. Those highlights just help bring that hat to life, just like the hat brings Mr. Frost to life, or so the song goes. I'm gonna wipe my paint off real quick. I need to grab a smidge more black, actually a good another chunk of black. Here we go. Ready? Squeeze. And since we're here and it looks like my white trees have dried, go ahead and actually kind of like fluff your brush a little bit, kind of get it dry. We're going to use a dry brushing technique. And so the dry brushing technique is going to allow us to kind of fill out the, whoop, there we go. I gotta get his book in there. Let's do his book first. I'm sorry. I'm like, squirrel. Because you know what? Trying to figure out how to do the trees around the book is going to drive us crazy. So grab yourself a dark green. Here I have a Hauser dark green. But you know, like black forest or any other kind of like dark green is going to be totally sufficient. Oh, shake, 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 shake. Shake your paint jar. A little squeeze of green right there. That is probably way more than I need. And let me take a look here. His book is kind of right in this zone. I totally painted over it. That is why we have the traceable design, right? So if I were to kind of put this guy here. All right, so I can see that I would have the book right about here. So we're going to kind of make a V. And then you're going to kind of bring it down, straight line, and you're going to make another V. And it's a very shallow V, not a steep V. And you're just going to fill it in. This is if you want your guy to be singing. If you want him to have his arms in the air and holding birds, that's fine too. We'll get some birds in there, and you can totally decide where you want your birds. It's wide open. Now notice I got a little white in there, and it's kind of blending a bit. And the white was just from the edges. I kind of like it. So if you feel like lightening your green just a smidge with some white, go for it. I could probably make our book a little more exciting when we add the gold for the words as well. So look, now we have a snowman songbook. All right, that's it for the green. Go ahead and wipe off, whoops, move all the things out of the way. Wipe off your excess green paint in your offloading zone. And now we're coming, so it's a fluffy brush. I'm gonna just grab the black and I'm kind of coming in from the sides. sort of squishing it so I'm getting a nice flat brush. And notice I'm still working with my, say, 1/2 inch. I think it's 1/2 inch or so flat brush. And I've tried to create sort of a blade shape with the bristles. And we're going to kind of come up and, in a few spots, maybe kind of, all right. So every other one, kind of little bits across, little bits across. Maybe one here, one here. And it can be, a little bit irregular, kind of keep it interesting, maybe a couple of lines. See how that works? A little bit of something here. If you need more paint, by all means, grab a little bit more paint. So we want it kind of thick right at the edge of the tree, and then it kind of gets thinner as it comes out into the body of the tree. And then, so if the one stroke is flat, you would then rotate it 90 degrees and create some kind of lines that go across, sort of emulating like a river birch or whatever. Love these things. All right, so now that we've done that one tree, let me lift this from the background a little bit. Now you've done that one tree, you're going to go ahead and do that for all the other trees. Here's where I'm like, all right, where do I just turn it into a time lapse and speed it up so you don't have to watch the whole process? But maybe it's more comfortable to do it that way. Now, because this is kind of getting like right in behind the snowman, it's a little bit funky. I'm just going to add a few lines in just to kind of hint at what's there versus trying to figure it out exactly. And again, keeping that black paint kind of refilling on your brush. If you feel like you're kind of coming up against the hat, just do your best. Add some of those lines in. And so you could do all like the little, the wide strokes first if you wanted. Sometimes I feel like we just are more comfortable if we're kind of doing all of it so that we kind of can start to see some of the finished results. So there we go. We got 2 birch trees done. I'm gonna do another one here. I'll get some lines in that one since that's kind of where the snowman is. And the beauty of this is, you don't have to have perfectly solid and gorgeous white backgrounds for the trees because they are kind of a gray tone. And I love this project because it really channels that feel of winter. And so it doesn't even have to be, a Christmas theme. You don't have to use, red and green. You can use kind of whatever works for you because it's really mostly just kind of bringing in that feel of a snowy winter day. Kind of feels like January and February around here. Okay, so kind of a couple more. Oops. Couple lines. Keep going with this. And again, that sort of irregularity is wonderful. That's kind of how the trees grow. If you have too much of a pattern going, then it stops looking like a tree and starts looking like, I don't know, a piece of fabric, a pattern. And we are doing trees. All right, you guys, you're doing great. Keep it up. Yeah, I've noticed I've sort of managed to get paint all over the place, but it's really not a problem. That is the beauty of this particular design, is there's a lot of wiggle room, and it's an opportunity to give yourself a little bit grace. It's hard to mess up too much. Although I definitely cannot see the words joy so well. So either I'm going to have to freehand those potentially very badly, or we'll just retrace them on. Maybe we'll retrace them just so you can see how that goes. I don't know. Let's see what happens when we get there. I tend to get a little ADHD when I'm painting. Bonk. How's it going, guys? You got this? You feeling good? All right, last tree. Last tree. You did it. You almost did it. We're there. You notice how very dry the brush strokes kind of are. They just kind of, it's like thick, and then it really sort of peters out as it comes into the trunk of the tree. And I don't know if you can see that, but I've also kind of allowed the strokes to be slightly curved, not like big curves, but just a gentle curve. So mine tend to be more the frowny face curve, kind of like so. You could also do the smiley face curve, but whichever one you pick, stick to it and do it for all of them. So I had the slightly frowny one. Okay, and now I'm going to add some of those lines. And again, your trees might look very different from mine because your style is going to be different. It does not mean that they're any less. In fact, yours might look better than mine. I mean, these are still, very stylized. And again, just kind of using that brush to get those shapes in. I'm really loving this. I think birch trees are so much fun to do. Okay, so since we're here and I've got the black, oh, you know what? I need to get the neck scarf in. We'll do neck scarf, arms, face, and then we need to get some outlining on the trees. Actually, since we're here, let's just outline the trees because this flat brush is going to be really great for that. So you're just going to literally take that line and just kind of pull it gently up along the edge. And if it gets a little curly squirrely, that's okay. We need a couple of branches here. So I'm gonna, because we want to do some birds. So the joy is here. So we'll do one here for a bird. We'll do one here for the bird. Boop. And we'll fill those in with a little bit of white shortly. And then maybe one right here that's just a little bit higher. So you notice we've kind of varied the height of those. You see that okay? So it's here on the inside, here on the inside. So these are kind of facing each other, and then one kind of in an in-between height between these two. You could add further branches elsewhere if you wanted, but these three are the most important because that's where we're going to be putting the what do they call it? The birds. Although honestly, you could put birds wherever you want. Depends on how much red you feel like popping out there. So maybe just a few branches here and there. And some of them can be just little picks of black. We can come back in with some white. All right, now I'm going to come in with the outline. Like I said, I get a little ADHD here sometimes, so we'll kind of come on up with this guy. Keeping a nice flat brush. You really want to create kind of a blade on that brush. Just kind of right here up against him. And here, yeah. But you do need to refill between each side of the tree, otherwise you're going to kind of run out. But even so, it doesn't look so bad when you run out. It just kind of keeps that soft tree-like look going. I think I'll throw a branch off up here. Maybe a little fly off there just because we're here and we can. Again, you can put your branches wherever you want. They're just going to kind of pop out however works for you. Well, here. Oh yeah, keep going. Don't get too ADHD, Wendy. Fly off another branch there. And again, the branch can literally be just a little swoosh out like so. Boop. If you mess up, smile and call it a branch. And so these lines don't have to be perfect either, right? They can kind of lump and bump. They can be really solid, slightly broken. It's still going to give kind of that similar Similar effect. All right. Ah! Okay, good. At least this time, when the palette fell down off my table, it landed paint side up instead of paint side down. I've been known to have it go paint side down. Oh, I'm gonna throw a branch. There's a branch there. Good, because I was about to throw a branch. And it was already there. Very nice. Here we go. How we doing, my friends? We got this. There's a branch that goes right there, huh? Yep. Zoop, zoop. It's coming together nicely. These trees look good, huh? Can you believe you're painting this? Absolutely. And coming up. Perfect. I think since we're here, I'm going to give his little head a quick outline. Now, here's where I'm sticking with a larger brush. Hopefully I don't regret it. If I do, then you know that you should be going with a smaller brush. And that would be a smaller, like a round pointed brush, a fine liner. There's a whole number of kind of small brushes you can use. Got a nice fancy one here. This is a size 3/0 from the Royal Nickel. These are more expensive. If you have great brushes, awesome, use your great brushes. Let's see if I can do this. And if I can't, well, you can just laugh at me and be like, shh, dummy. I think we got it. There we are, sort of smooth. And I'm going to kind of go most of the way down, but I'm not going to do all the way around the bottom of his little thing here. I think I can just get away with kind of doing a partial. And because it doesn't have to be a super skinny line, it's also fine if it gets a little bit thick. So I can just kind of bring this one down along here, kind of right around under. Yeah, that works. So again, if you're not comfortable doing fine lines with a brush that's quite this big, by all means, use a smaller brush. No big deal. Whoops, got a little thick there around that face, didn't I? All right, well, we'll just keep going. We got it. Maybe a little outline on the book. Doop, boop, boop. All right, that worked, right? It totally worked. Okay, now let's get him some arms, because he's gonna need some arms to be holding that. So the arm always kind of comes from inside the Mr. Snowman. So it's gonna go like so, out, and then whoops. And so if you're using an angled brush, you always want the short part to be closest to you if you're pulling, and the long part to be furthest away. If you try to pull this way, then all your bristles are going to bunch up on each other, and you will be pissed because it's going to get all thick and funky. So I'm using a pulling motion with the short part closest to me. And then here, and then I think we're going to need some stick-like bits. So we'll kind of pull some little sticky fingers off. This is not science. You're just going to kind of do what works. All right, let me raise this way up for my desk-facing camera, and then for everybody else who's seeing another angle. So there's arm one. Here we go. Let's do arm two. Arm two is going to come out slightly more awkwardly from, actually, so this one, I'm going to have it come from behind because he's kind of slightly turned, I feel like. I'm going to have it come from behind, kind of come out like so. And then we'll have it kind of come like so. And if we have a little bit of an overlap here, because it's a branch and there's always bits flying off, that works. And then we'll kind of have some little fingery, branchy things popping out here. You could even give him a little something on his arms if you like. Okay, so you've got that basic portion done. And now I think it is time to move down to a smaller brush. So I'm going to go ahead and just offload kind of the excess black from this guy. Give him a quick rinse. And now we'll go for something smaller. Get this guy done. So after you rinse your brush, it's a great idea to just squeeze the water out of it. Set it aside. Actually, yeah. Oh, here's my Royal Nickel guy. So I'm going to take this dude now, and I need orange. Oh, I knew I was missing something from my palette. I was like, what color did I not bring over to my work surface? All right, I got Canyon Orange. So Canyon Orange is great. Jack-o'-lantern orange, bright orange, whatever orange you happen to have. Now, I mostly am a Deco Art Americana girl, but paints from Michaels like the Craft Smart brand are fine. Folk Art is fantastic. In fact, it's got really beautiful coverage. All right, so this guy's nice and dry, which we like. We're going to take a big hunk of that orange and kind of like right from the center of his face, kind of right here. I'm going to kind of create a circle and then just sort of drag it straight up. Drag it straight up. There we are. Now you may notice where it overlaps his hat. You don't have quite as good a coverage. You may need to just blop a little bit more wet paint onto that very, very gently to cover the black. And that's it for the orange for today. I'll go ahead and offload it. And I'm going to grab the red while we're, where'd I put it? Okay, I know I brought the red over here. Where'd I put it? There it is. All right, any old red will do. This one happens to be cherry red. I also love Tuscan red, true red. Cherry red is kind of in between Tuscan. It's kind of a nice neutral red. I didn't need to rinse the brush because orange, whatever, it's all good. All right, and we're going to go ahead and get a little scarf going in here. We'll just kind of create like a band basically around his neck for that. And then we'll have one piece kind of come in this way like so. I guess I could have done the neck piece earlier. I just got so excited about the trees. And then there. And so if you feel like you're kind of seeing through it, you can always grab a touch of white and just kind of work it in for better coverage. And then you can come back and do a second coat later. Or you can kind of even just enjoy that little bit of variance from the color. But I do have some pretty thick black that I'm trying to overcome. So I added just a touch of white to make that a little easier. Cool? All right, good. I'm glad we're all on the same page. So now he's got his cute red scarf. It's kind of a light red, pinkish color, no biggie. So we may use that same technique to get our birds all right. So let's, actually, I'm going to grab just a touch of the white over here, chunk of red, and just kind of mix it together. And this allows us, we can totally double coat. So let's see, I said it was here, here, and here. So we'll do the first guy right here. And you're going to create kind of like a little circle. And then maybe just a little kissy tail, almost like a teardrop. There you go. There's our first birdie. Try not to get too big. I know I'm tempted to be like, big birds, happy birds everywhere. All right, the next bird is going to be sitting right here. So a circle kind of right on the trunk. So these two are sort of facing each other, and his tail or her tail is going to come up. It's really kind of more like a paisley, isn't it? Does anyone even do paisley patterns anymore? I feel like I never see paisleys. All right, and then our final and third bird is going to be right here. We're going to have him facing the same way as everybody else. So I think I want my circle there. And then we'll kind of do his tail like so. Bloop. These guys are still a bit on the pink side, no biggie. I'm just getting a quick base coat for coverage. And I'm gonna cheat. You can hit the pause button. I'm gonna cheat. So I'm gonna use my heat dryer here to help my paint along a bit. Just let it get drier a little faster. Now this is a heat gun and not a hair dryer, although it looks like a mini portable hair dryer. You would fry your hair to kingdom come with this sucker. In fact, you could also fry your paint if you aren't moving it around quickly, which is why I've got that like staccato, like wiggle, wiggle, wiggle going on. So I'm gonna just quickly like wipe my brush just to get the excess of the whitey red out, or the pinkish. I'm gonna go for the straight red. And okay. So this is drier, so I should do it first. This is less dry, but if you look at how I'm facing, if I go here, I'm just moving up and I'm liable to smudge red all the way across. So I'm going to take a risk and just put the red down on top of this guy again. There we are. That's beautiful. Now we're getting the perfect intense, beautiful coverage that we really like. And if your red goes on a little bit, whoop, I lifted some of the paint right there. If it goes on a little bit streaky and you can just see some of the lighter red underneath, that's probably also okay. So if I bring this guy up, you can kind of see that it is pretty red there. I just didn't want them that light. I feel it's a little too washed out, especially with all this gray. You really want that kind of intense pop of color. You're kind of relying on it, you know, and like his little nose. Now, if you're like just feeling the birds, feel free to put birds like everywhere. You can put the birds on the snow, although we're going to do another coat of white on this to give it that kind of snowdrift look. Okay. Pretty happy with that. Rinse quick. Looking at my green, I feel like the green needs a little kick. I will do a kick when we get to the gold. Giving it just my brush another rinse. It still had a bunch of green or red in it, so just bloop, rinse, rinse, rinse. Okay. And now we're gonna go and get his eyeballs in place, or his mouth. So he's singing, right? So we're gonna give him an O face. So it's gonna be a nice oval. Maybe he's saying "oi" to the world, like part of the joy to the world. I don't know. Y'all can make up what he's saying. But he's singing, right? He's singing. So now this is where you really do want a fine line. We're going to do like little frowny faces for his eyes. So here he is, happy, happy. So he's singing. And you can make those steeper frowny faces, or you can make them shallower frowny faces. It's going to be up to you. Again, those are just the eyes. And then we'll come down and we'll create some little buttons down his front. Button 1, button 2. And it's okay if these buttons are a little bit like lumpy bumpy, no big deal. Because it's cool, right? It's not going to be a perfect circle. So now you got some buttons there. We got his arms, I'm just doing a quick check, make sure I can see what I got. All right, I'm going to offload the paint, wipe it, rinse it. Now, if you have an itty bitty, teeny tiny, smudgy pinch of brown, this would be a good time to get it. You need the teeniest, tiniest dot. So you see how much orange I have on my palette? It's way too much. We want way less. So if you can get just the smallest blob, see that tiny little blob, just one dot? That's already 10 times more paint than I need, but it's fine because I can't get it out any less than that. So using your teeny tiny brush, twirl those bristles, can't speak today, twirl those bristles to get a fine point. And we're going to kind of come down and create like a little line, kind of a brushy, fluffy, soft line along the bottom. And then we'll kind of take some of those shapes, just kind of up his nose so that the carrot looks a bit dimensional, right? Now, we have the highlight on this side of his hat, so we got to put the shadows on this side. So if the highlight's on the left, the shadows on the right, and vice versa. So a couple of just little bits on the nose, no biggie. Very simple. Might in fact be kind of hard to see, but it's there. Just a little something. And wipe it off. All right, let's grab, and I think it was so little paint, I don't really need to rinse. But let's go ahead and get some little dots on his buttons. Just helps him kind of pop a little bit. And we had our friends, the birds here. I want to kind of make those branches white so they make sense. Maybe and you can put little bits of white in some of these other branches as well. It's just a kiss, you know, it doesn't have to be a lot. And it doesn't have to extend all the way out to the end of the black. It just kind of where it's white kind of coming off the tree. If you have a few spots where you want to add kisses of white to your trees, you can do that too. It's going to be up to you. These are your trees. I think that covers it. Some of these sticks are so narrow and little that they don't really go very far. Boop. All right, let's see. What am I missing? I just want to make sure I got all the pieces. Okay. Now let's go ahead and add some highlights to his arms. Move my sleeves here. And I gotta rotate him so I can get to him. Gonna do a little bit of white right along the inside there of his arm. And then the inside here. And that's just gonna make it so you can kind of see it better. It's gonna pop it a little bit, so to speak. A little bit here. Bristles are getting separated, so I need to twirl it a smidge to kind of get it back under control here. Little kisses of white. And on this one, we'll kind of bring them in. Boop. And again, this little bit of white is just really more than anything to kind of help put some emphasis on his little stick arms so you can see him. Cool. All right, let's do his hat. So again, if you start to lose your point, your brush starts getting all out of control and the bristles, twirl it, and that'll help a ton. So we're gonna add a little line along here, a little bit more defined line along the top. It's kind of in addition to the existing line we've got. A little here. Get a little swoosh along the inside of the hat there. Kind of go for the brim a bit. Yep. And I'm just gonna look, is there anything else I need to do? I think that pretty much covers our boy. You know, actually you could add a little bit more here if you wanted. And that's just gonna be up to you. It's like, if you like that, great. If you don't like it, that's fine too. And then you have the option if you're wanting to do something with the scarf, although I've got glitter, so I'm thinking we'll just glitter the scarf. That'll probably be our best bet. The birds are so little, they're just going to get little black dots for eyes and call it good. Maybe give one of them a top hat for giggles. Rinsing, rinsing, rinsing. Let's see. Okay, yeah, so I'm going to come back to the black now. We'll give each of these guys a little dot for the eye. A little dot for the eye, a little dot for the eye. And then a tiny little twirl for a beak. Now, if you're having trouble getting your thing to go quite the way you want, you can always grab a toothpick or a mini skewer. And you can kind of drag like a little beak out like so. You may find that easier than trying to use a brush. I'm going to put this guy's beak kind of pointing up. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to see it. So he's kind of looking at the sky. Maybe this guy is actually squawking. Oh, come on. So a toothpick like this is not going to hold as much paint, which is fine. You don't have to dip it more, but you're going to get the better control. And sometimes when we either have inexpensive brushes or they're just kind of on their last legs, or we just don't have the motor control, which, by the way, just because you're an adult and been writing for the last, 30, 40 years, does not mean that you have that fine motor control. Brush dexterity is really, it's like whole next level. It's not like writing with a pen. And my brush, I'm going to blame it on my brush today. Although maybe it's dexterity, but I think it's the brush. Okay. Then we just did a cute little top hat on this guy. Just a little top hat on this guy. See it? Isn't it cute? Oh my goodness. I love this stuff. I love this stuff. This kind of thing just makes me happy. All right, so I'll tell you, hand lettering is my worst. It is not my superpower, but that's okay. So let's go ahead and grab a little bit more of this white. I'm going to kind of mush it in over here. Maybe it kiss some of the gray, but not too much. Notice how I'm kind of like just trying to get a tiny bit, not too much. I really want it white, but with bits of gray. I'm going to start to kind of make that snowdrift a little bit more snowdrifty. Try and keep them with nice big strokes. Be gentle and careful as you go around our singing friend here. but a little bit streaky is fine. Maybe that's a little bit too streaky. But I think it's working. It's working. Yeah, we got this. You got this. It's gonna be good. Okay. So now you have the snowdrift. And notice I did keep it streaky. I like that look. I feel like it gives it that kind of snowy look as opposed to being completely and utterly flat. Okay. I'm going to give, everything here a quick blow dry. We're going to do the letters, the words joy. And then we will add the snow and be on our merry way. Let me see, how much can I see that? I can pencil this in. Anything to not have to retrace it. Just call me lazy. Well, not lazy, but you know. All right, well, let's get this drying while I'm sorting that part out. You know, I crack myself up. I always have pencils around. And like the one time I need a pencil, I'm like, where did I put them? I must have like walked off with every last one. Okay, so now we've got like a good level of dryness here. I'm not, going to risk kind of getting into stuff. So I think if I look at my trace guy, I can just kind of see that we have the J is right here, and it kind of comes down and maybe goes like so. And then I've got the O, which I think my O was a little bit off just because of where the sled was. So we'll just kind of bring this around and up and over and swoosh. So it's going to be hard to see the tracing in there, but it's there. I could also cheat and come over it with a permanent marker once I've gotten it done with my pencil, because I'm happy with the letters location. And then this gives me a really easy line to follow when I go to paint over it. And now you can see it too on camera, or you can see it a little bit, right? Okay. So we're going to break out some gold. I've still got plenty of space on my palette, so I don't need a fresh one, which is awesome. You can use like some Deco Art Dazzling Metallics. You can use the 24 karat gold from Deco Art. You can use the equivalent tub of this. In fact, this is the pewter that we used earlier. It's the Bright Metallics pewter. And it just gives a slight blue tinge to our snowman buddy. All right, so I'm going to squeeze gold in. That's probably way too much, but it probably works too. All right, so grabbing my round small brush, we're going to begin by just getting those letters kind of in place. And this may require a couple of coats, so just be patient with yourself. And again, if you have a paint pen at home and would rather use a paint pen, you might be really happy with those results. Because I'll admit, sometimes trying to do this with a brush can be frustrating. So again, a nice small liner brush. And, I pay less attention to the numbers and more attention to kind of how's it look. Is it going to give me a small point like I'm looking for? All right. So that's coming together nicely. I still can really see through it. So it will need another coat, but the point right now is to just kind of get the base lines in place, and then we'll build up the layers of the gold. And you notice I kind of get partway here and then I stop, and then I come up here and sort of go the other direction. Reason being is that pushing a paintbrush can be very difficult. So sometimes it's easier to just stop and move somewhere where you can create a pulling motion. So instead of pushing, you always want to be thinking about pulling. Generally enables a much smoother line. All right, so there's our base coat for the Joy. Shows it pretty well, yeah, especially when you get it in the light. We'll alternate some heat and paint, heat and paint. All right, I also noticed that I want this line to come up a little bit more and kind of meet the swirly tail. So I'm going to modify that in a second here. And we'll let it come to there. So this is actually the one that this is the first one I did the tracer on, because, you know, this is just a normal design and we have to transfer it to the sled. And I didn't line it up quite right. So that's why I'm painting this one now. So just be cognizant, you know, when you're tracing yours on, you probably want to line it up. And when you use your fingers and you're kind of feeling through, that the snowman, his head is centered here. So his body might be slightly, like his little side booty there might be slightly off the sled, but that's just going to give you, it's going to give you like just a little bit better alignment for the letters and for everything. All right, I don't remember which parts I did the second coat on and not, but I guess wherever I can still see the black line through, I know it needs a second coat. And it is kind of useful if you've got that, if you just did the black permanent marker or paint pen or whatever for that baseline, if you can still see it, then you know you need a little bit more paint. And that's actually a really good rule of thumb, because when you get your gold paint on as thick as we're trying to get it here, it really, really shimmers. So quite honestly, the Extreme Sheen 24 karat from DecoArt Americana is bar none one of the best. That and that little tub, the Americana or DecoArt, these guys, the metallics in gold. Everything else is nice too, but those are the very best. They give just such an amazing sheen and shine. And, you know, if I'm doing a commission or someone wants something with a lot of gold, this is the one I use. Actually did it like a side-by-side paint test to see if I can find the video for that and bring it up again. I was really surprised, or maybe I'll just redo it. I was really surprised at the results and seeing how each of the different paints measured up. And I also like the tub guy, this thing of the gold. Again, this isn't the gold one. I'd have to go dig around and find it. I just put it in a squeezy bottle because it's so much easier. So much easier. But then again, I use it all the time. So if you're like me and you are painting constantly, you may find, and if you're doing paint parties, you may find that it just makes sense to transfer some of your bulk paints, especially the ones that come in the big tubs and jugs, into a barbecue sauce bottle. Yep, that's my secret, barbecue sauce bottles. You can get them in bulk on Amazon. It's pretty rad. But again, you probably want to be painting in high volume because they're not going to stay in quite as good a condition as like some of these other jars and whatnot that have really good sealing lids. But I'm in and out of mine so often that I tend to use them up faster than they can dry out. So there's also, other options for getting paint in bulk if you're doing this a lot. They have those like half-gallon jugs, and I do have those that come with a pump. But I'll tell you, those pumps get jammed up with gooey paint, and I spend a lot of time pulling like massive like paint boogers out of them and unjamming them. So it's not my favorite. I don't know why I'm going on about that, but oh, look at that. See, now the Gold Joy, it just pops. It shows. That looks good. Ah! See, that kind of sheen, that only comes with a high-end paint. And so it's worth it. So I think it's like $3 or $4 for the little little 2-ounce bottle, the Extreme Sheen. And then the tub is like $10, maybe 12. I have just zero qualms. All right, I'm gonna just shiny up our book a little bit with a little bit of gold. So it's still green, but we're adding just a little glamour and glitz to it. So then we can actually take some of that green over here. Oops, getting a little bit of scum on it. And then mix some gold in, maybe mix a goldy green and kind of fill in some of that. Maybe more green. I don't want it to look like just gold. I want it to be green, but shimmery green. That's nice. I like that. That adds a little something to that book. Lets you know it's special. All right, there you go. Now you have like a shimmery book in his hand and all the good things. Okay, so I did not give the birds legs, and I think that's okay. If you feel like you want to do legs, you can. Just make sure you're doing it with like a toothpick or something super fine, because it's going to be a little bit difficult. Go ahead and rinse your brush. Now, if you want to add some glitter, it's glitter time. It's glitter time. We did the gold already. I mean, so glitter's like the mega bonus. I have with me today the Craft Smart Crystal, or we have the DecoArt Twinkles. Now this Twinkles one is see-through, and it looks to me like I don't like all the glitters on the bottom and the goo's on the top. So I think I'm going to go with the Craft Smart one. And since I'm doing a good chunk, I'm just going to squeeze some right there on to my canvas. And I think for this one, I'm going to grab a slightly larger brush. Where are you? Okay, this guy I'll do. I'm just going to kind of spread it out and kind of get all that snow zone all beautifully glitterified. There we are. We like that glitterified. I'm not glitterifying the snowman just because I need him to feel different than the base. But you totally could if you were feeling it. Then next up, I will grab a little, actually I will, where did I put, right. All right, well, I want some glitter on his necklace too. His necklace. Wendy, that's not a necklace, it's his neck scarf. So you can squeeze a little glitter here too. Now the reason I squeezed it directly onto this surface is it's just so much easier since we're spreading it around on everything. But on something like his neck thing, you kind of want to dab it. And so, you know, if there's anything else that you're really feeling like you want to glitterify, now is the time. I love the glitter paint because it's not like any glitter bombs going off. Some people I know think glitter is like the herpes of the art world because, you know, it just keeps showing up. Sort of a running joke. I personally still love glitter. I want some glitter on his hat. I'm going to glitterify his hat. Now, if you're looking at this going, man, that looks like gray and it just lightened everything up, don't stress. It's only while it's wet, it gets a little bit of has a little bit of a whitish tinge to it. There's the one thing I don't like as much about the Michaels brand Craft Smart stuff is on application, it looks a bit snowy, but once it dries completely clear. And so that will, and it'll have a little bit of a sheen. So it'll just look like glitter. Let me see if I can help it along its way and show you what I mean. Please don't prove me wrong. Please don't prove me wrong. But it's a little bit more like a glue versus, you know, an acrylic paint. All right, so I got some thick spots in here, which may or may not cooperate with me, and I don't want to burn the paint. But I think it's already kind of starting to come together. But now we've got this beautiful, let me see if I can get the glitter to show. Come on, let me see. So I got multiple cameras going, so bear with me. All right, you can see the glitter in his hat and his neck. Glitter in the white, you can see with the naked eye, less so on camera. Sorry, you know. Oh yeah, but look at that snow. The snow has got some good shimmer. So does this necklace. Necktie, neck thing, the scarfy thing, right? Okay, good. We got this. We got this. Oh, I didn't put little flyaways on his scarf. If you want to have like, where's my toothpick? If you want to have like some little bits on his scarf, like fringe, you can kind of use the toothpick to create a fringe. You could also use your brush. I'd have to go find another brush that's doing better. So I really like the toothpick. Boop, 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 boop. There you go. All right, we did it. We did it. Nice job, you guys. I love you, and we'll catch you next time. I hope you had fun with this, and we'll see you. Bye, guys. Let's see, I gotta turn everything off. Here we go.